Coming up on today's Next Fan Up podcast.
Oh, they're probably gonna find me. If they find me, whatever it is, I'll just match it and donate it to charity. You know, the Grinch always try to steal Christmas. You know, so.
Well, the Grinch didn't steal your Christmas, Alvin Kamara. We got a lot more of that. Where that came from? Here we go.
That's how we start. Yeah, baby.
32 super fans.
Where do the reports come from? Did you get an initial?
One PodVader.
That's football.
Every angle of the NFL covered.
All that kind of stuff, I get it.
This,
no question about it,
is Next Fan Up.
We're going to unleash hell here in December.
Hello and welcome to the worst tease in Next Fan Up history. Hey everybody, PodVader. As always, I'm joined by Eagles James. Hello, James.
Yeah, hello, Pod. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. And are actually granted the privilege of being joined by another super fan, and that is Seattle Seahawks Justin. Hello, Justin.
Hey, Pod. Hey, James. Long time. It's been too long. I missed you guys so much. And besides, I kind of felt like this show could use some representation of a playoff team.
Ouch.
That
Too soon. Too soon.
Coming in hot.
That was way below the belt. I did not appreciate that kind of disrespect on this particular podcast. Speaking of disrespect, J.J. Watt won't have any of it. We'll hear from him in just a second, but we'll have all of your favorite players. And the second half of today's podcast will be what I'm going to call Coach's Corner. It'll be nothing but coaches. But before we get started, I just want to say here before we play J.J. Watt, and some of you have probably already heard this, but I just want to say we have a lot of fun on this particular podcast, to the, sometimes to the detriment of NFL players and coaches. And, we sit here and we'll callously call for another man's job, which is also ironic considering that the host of the show is currently unemployed. So, I want to take this all with that particular grain of salt in mind and that particular perspective and bring you what I'm going to deem the greatest post-game speech I have ever heard from any player ever. J.J. Watt, Houston Texans.
JJ, I know you've been through a lot in your career, but is this the most difficult season that you've been through as a football player?
Yes.
Will y'all be able to kind of regroup and hope to finish the season on a positive note next week?
We're professional athletes getting paid a whole lot of money. If you can't come in and put work in the building, go out to the practice field and work hard, do your lifts and do what you're supposed to do, you should not be here. This is a job. We are getting paid a whole lot of money. There are a lot of people that watch us and invest their time and their money into buying our jerseys and buying a whole bunch of shit. And they care about it. They care every single week. We're in week 16 and we're 4-11. And there's fans that watch this game, that show up to the stadium, that put in time and energy and effort and care about this. So if you can't go out there and you can't work out, you can't show up on time, you can't practice, you can't want to go out there and win, you shouldn't be here. Because this is a privilege. It's the greatest job in the world. You get to go out and play a game. And if you can't care enough, even in week 17, even when you're trash, when you're 4-11, if you can't care enough to go out there and give everything you've got and try your hardest, that's bullshit. So that's how. I think there are people every week that still tweet you, that still come up to you and say, hey, we're still rooting for you. We're still behind you. They have no reason whatsoever to. We stink. But they care and they still want to win and they still want you to be great. That's why. Those people aren't getting paid. We're getting paid handsomely. That's why. And that's who I feel the most bad for is our fans and the people who care so deeply in this city and the people who love it and who truly want it to be great. And it's not. And that sucks as a player to know that we're not giving them what they deserve.
We can say a lot of things, and I'm sure we will. But one thing that I will always applaud for is the player that stands up and gets it. Like J.J. Watt, and this wasn't, maybe it was scripted, You know, the cynic can say, oh, that was all scripted. He's doing that for show. He's doing that for fan service, blah, 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 blah. That, to me, that came at the very end of his press conference. And James and I have heard enough of J.J. Watt's press conferences this season. And credit to the reporter who got the one-word answer that J.J.'s been doing all season long. Like, J.J., after a bad game, James, you can back me up on this. J.J. comes in and he goes, yes.
Yes. No. We sucked.
We're terrible.
Horrible. Yeah. Bad.
Yes. Are we done?
Awful.
Thanks. That's been J.J. Watt's press conferences all year long. And then in this particular instance, she comes back, she asks another question, trying to get more out of him, and he went off, and it was awesome. I'm here for everything that he just said. That said, I'm going to call for somebody's job in the very next soundbite. But, you know, J.J. Watt, good on you. What do you think, Justin?
I don't think the Texans deserve J.J. Watt. I think the Texans are probably the ultimate franchise of having players that they don't deserve. You look at when they had like Andre Johnson. They have these guys who aren't just otherworldly talents, but like you said, they get it, right? Like, you can't be as great as J.J. Watt is and has been in his career, especially on the defensive line, without this part of you, right? Like this fire and this like expectation of like dedication and quality. And it sucks because I agree with everything he says. I think that, you know, he makes amazing points about how, you know, the community still supports this franchise that is just a disaster, and that, you know, he's holding his, you know, other players accountable with his words. And I mean, you know, there's not a lot of players in the NFL that, you know, are at sort of that highest tier of respect, but J.J. Watt's one of those guys. When he talks, people listen. And when he calls out his own teammates, like, that's going to send shockwaves through the locker room. Because, I mean, frankly, it's J.J. effing Watt, man. Like, it's J.J. effing Watt. So, yeah, I'm here for it. Man, J.J. Watt is so unlucky to get drafted by the Texans.
James, think about what this means for like all those other organizations, like your second favorite team, the Cleveland Browns, right? All the years that they struggled.
Oh no!
Yeah, you never heard something like this from the Browns.
Oh no, we have vitriol for the Browns. I'll save it for our preview week show. But as far as JJ goes, like, I mean, you hear this from time to time when teams have, you know, less than stellar seasons like the Texans, but I'm not going to elaborate more than what Justin said, but these two final points. One, remember J.J. Watt went into this year without negotiating a new contract. He basically played this year without any guaranteed money whatsoever. He literally had to play every single game this season to earn his contract. And two, the Texans just squander talent. Period. Just like Justin said, they squander talent. J.J. Watt, Andre Johnson, Arian Foster, they're going to squander the greatness that is Deshaun Watson. It's just all going out the window. They already traded Hopkins before the year started. Like, and what makes it worse is they get these pieces for these brief flashes in time, and they don't do anything to build up solidly around them. You know, Andre Johnson was mentioned earlier. He had Matt Schaub as a quarterback. And, yeah, Matt Schaub had like maybe one or two good years, but he's never had a great year with Andre Johnson as a wide receiver. Arian Foster had solid seasons up and down his career in Houston, and they never put more talent around him. J.J. Watt in this defense has never been – like, how many all-pros have they had in the secondary since he's been there? And yet J.J. Watt plays every single position in the front seven over his tenure there in Houston. Like, if he doesn't come back, like, good on him. And congrats to whoever gets him in the offseason.
Well, I mean, that was sort of where I was going to go to close things out. And they have building blocks to make the Texans pretty good, even starting as early as next year. The unfortunate part is a block like J.J. Watt is probably going to be more valuable to them as trade bait to be moved elsewhere rather than on that particular team, which is a shame because he would be the perfect guy that you want to build the defense around. You want to build the offense around Deshaun Watson. the new coaching staff and the new GM staff, they've got a big mess that they got to clean up. And so their hands are going to be a little bit tied with the way that things are going to move. But I think there's hope on the horizon for Houston, and it lies in Deshaun Watson.
Yeah,
I just
unfortunately
don't know.
All on his shoulders alone.
Yeah, that's sort of the problem there. Speaking
And
of,
look, we
go ahead.
gave a lot of sympathy to Houston in the beginning of the year because remember how they started out: Kansas City, Baltimore, Pittsburgh. At the time, the three best teams in the league when they played them.
Yeah,
and they ended up starting 0-5 before they won a game finally. So the schedule makers didn't do them any good. And look, it's not going to get better next year, no matter what building blocks they have, because the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. The Ravens still have Lamar Jackson, which their defense can't stop. When they went to the Cleveland Browns show flashes, the Steelers are going to be the Steelers from here to the end of time. And the Bills have emerged this year. Not to mention their own division, they can't even stop Derrick Henry.
Well, and they're arguably in the toughest division in the AFC South with two teams that are fighting out for playoff spots and a Jaguars team that's going to be bringing in Trevor Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. The Jaguars are going to be bringing in Trevor Lawrence because Adam Gase went out and did not do his job again this past week, and that was he won another game, thus locking in the first-round pick for the Jaguars and helping me not have to root for the Patriots to lose in Week 17. I'm very proud of that. I'm very happy that now I can actually root for the Patriots to kick the Jets' butt, as they always do. But here is exhibit number 16, why Adam Gase should no longer be the head coach of the New York Jets. Listen to the way the tune changes from question to question.
I don't mean to put a heavier damper on the good feels, Adam, but is there any bit of you that kind of looks at what you guys have accomplished the last 2 weeks against two teams that might be heading to the playoffs and says, what if for what could have been this year if you guys played this way the whole season?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had an answer for why, things didn't go our way earlier, but, we didn't do enough to win those games. And, we were in a few of them, and there was a lot of them where we didn't keep it tight enough and execute in the fourth quarter. So I just feel like guys are doing a good job of just finishing the games the right way.
But obviously there's been a lot of noise about your future and whatnot. I know you said you haven't worried about it and whatnot, but do you think these last 2 weeks can have done anything to benefit yourself?
I haven't thought about it. I haven't had any discussions with Christopher about any of this. My job is get us ready for the next game, so that's what I'm going to worry about.
Are you hopeful that these last 2 weeks will have an impact on ownership's decision?
It's something I can't worry about. I gotta focus on getting us ready for the next one.
Do you believe you should be this team's head coach moving forward?
I think our guys have done a good job of, doing what I've asked, what our coaching staff has asked them to do.
So wait, at first he said, I don't know why we didn't finish the way we were supposed to finish or why we didn't play the way we were supposed to play. I have no answer for that. But the players did exactly what we asked them to do. So wait, which one is it, Adam? Did they do exactly what you asked them to do? Or did you, or did they not respond to the way that you were coaching them? Yeah. And again, Adam's job changed. Did you hear that? Now his job is to just get his team ready for the next game. It's not to win or lose. Last week it was to win games. This week it's just to get his team ready. So I'm glad that he's finally got on board with what his real job description is here, James.
Yeah, whatever that is. But the answer to your question is yes. So, I find it funny that he starts off with saying, we lost a couple of close games in the beginning of the season. I'm looking at the beginning of the season. I'm not really finding them. So the Broncos game was one score. And the first Bills game was one score. And then the Patriots game was a field goal. The Chargers was one score. So what's that, 4 games? And then the Raiders was a field goal, 5. Maybe. But when you're getting beat by an average of 20 points every week, I can't side with him on this.
Yeah, Justin, the Jets are terrible. Adam Gase needs to be fired, and I still don't understand if they could start interviewing coaches now, why he hasn't been fired yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think you were right when you said that his job description keeps changing, and another week it's going to change to flipping burgers.
Yes, exactly right. By the way, and again, as an unemployed man, I feel for Adam Gase's family. Not really, because you've made millions of dollars. Hopefully you've invested that properly and saved properly. But as an unemployed man, I'm going to say this. Adam Gase does not even deserve an offensive coordinator position. He doesn't understand the simple aspects of football or how to construct a winning football team or a winning football plan. Remember, play calling is easy. You know, you give me the 3 play calls and then I might make a decision on 4th down. No, that's what? No.
Yeah, honestly, I think right now he just needs to be focused on filling out the paperwork for unemployment. As somebody who's been on it for most of the year, I can tell you it's complicated. It takes a few weeks to process. Adam Gase, if you need a hand with that, let me know.
And I believe we're about to get some extended unemployment benefits too, which would be very helpful and nice. I'm looking forward to that. So
go a long way for the Gase family.
Yeah. Adam Gase, I'm sure, once again, because you've made millions, you should be fine. Unless you've gone and you've blown it on a Cliff Kingsbury style mansion, then perhaps you're not as fine as I might want you to be.
So wait, before we move on, I have to play devil's advocate because, you know, I looked up earlier this season and I saw that Jay Gruden was the Jaguars offensive coordinator. Who knew? Guy should not be in the league coaching in any way, shape, or form. Let's just throw it out there. Look, we know that there are, 5 roughly openings so far this season that we know of. Some of them have already fired their coaches, whatever. What teams that you think will hire an offensive coordinator will actually bring this guy into their coaching staff? Seriously.
Hopefully none of them.
No. Sorry. The hopefully none is not going to fly here. That's not an answer. Pick a potential offensive-minded head coach or offensive coordinator who might get hired as a head coach who will bring this numbskull in because you know it's going to happen.
What tree does Adam Gase fall from?
Yeah, I mean, he was in Denver with Peyton Manning, which is literally the only reason he even has a job right now is because Peyton Manning drug him kicking and screaming to a Super Bowl.
Oh, God. So that's McDaniel's tree.
Which if it's the McDaniel's tree.
So you're saying Adam Gase is the brainchild of McDaniels, who's back to being the offensive coordinator of the Patriots.
Yep. Gase
same team that he's going to succeed
2021, guaranteed.
Coach. Okay.
Write that down.
No. God, no.
Okay, can I say just one thing real quick? You know, as much as we talk about how the Jets should be losing and all those things, it is worth keeping in mind though that the Jets aren't the human beings on the team, right? The franchise will always be the Jets as the roster turns over. A lot of these guys, you know, if the team is going to get better, the team probably needs to be largely different people, which means that the people who are on the team are playing for their job. So I don't begrudge them trying to win games as a player, right? Because you want to ensure yourself a spot either with this team if they get a new regime, or you want to put good tape out there for, you know, a potential employer next year. So, you know, any losing that should be happening is squarely on Adam Gase. Players, you're doing great. Do your best. Bless your hearts.
No, Justin. There's a way to lose games and still look good. Just ask the Raiders. That they got so much kudos for losing to the Chiefs, and then they just kept losing.
No, I think you're confusing with looking good, losing to the mystique of their uniform over the years. You know, that style is pretty much what makes them look, quote, good, but they didn't play well in any loss.
You could also ask the Browns. The Browns have decades of practice at this. I will say, you know, this is sort of the maturation of Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield's growing up in front of our eyes, James. Here's Baker taking another step forward towards being an actual mature leader, not only for the Browns, but maybe even for the NFL. Baker Mayfield.
Really? Okay.
I'm just going to go ahead and answer all the questions right now. There's no excuse. Yeah, it sucks that we didn't have our guys, but we believe in the guys that we have in this locker room, no matter who it is. That's why they're here. That's why they're Cleveland Browns. That's why they were brought here. That's why we, suited them out. We believe in them, and I told every single one of those guys that. there's no excuse. Plain and simple, I failed this team. I put 3 balls on the ground. 2 of them that, they recovered, and then the other that on the 4th down obviously needed to just hold on to the damn ball. So plain and simple, I have to hold on to the damn ball. I failed this team. We had exactly what we needed to win this game, and I didn't do good enough. And that's it. There's nothing. I'm proud of these guys for being able to step up. I mean, these guys didn't even think they were going to play. So for anybody to criticize them, shame on you. Put it on me for not doing my job, for not playing at a high level like I should have, for not getting these guys going and finishing out this game. So got to hold on to the ball during a QB sneak. Obviously, Kareem was in the right spot at the right time, grabbed the ball and tried to advance it, but you can't advance a fumble under 2 minutes in the 4th quarter. So it is what it is. This one's on me, but here's the thing. This one's going to sting for a day or 2, but we have the Steelers to win and get in. Yes, I'm aware of what could have happened if we would have won today. I'm well aware of that. But it is what it is. So I'm going to have to roll with these punches. Backs against the wall, and we have to win to get in. And you know what? This group fought today, but I didn't do enough.
So, I mean, good on him for taking on all the responsibility. Good on him for noting that he fumbled the ball 3 times, and that's just not going to get the job done. Good on him for staving off all the questions. That was literally his entire press conference. There were no questions. He literally said, I'm going to answer all the questions. And I think he did a pretty good job there in a minute and a half. And then on top of that, this is what really put him over the top for me. I believe there's like 5 or 6 cliches at the end of that. It really just shows his leadership qualities, Our backs are against the wall. We got to win to get in. It's all on me.
He checked all the boxes. You know what? I'm gonna do something that I've pretty much never done in this podcast, and I'm gonna stick up for Baker Mayfield, and I'm gonna give him just this little bit of sympathy, because I know after this interview, after this game, between him and the coaching staff, I'm pretty sure he's just yelled and reamed at his receiving room, because I find out moments before this game starts, because I didn't even see the breaking news on Saturday through the 3 games that were televised. I find out moments before this game starts that the entire starting receiving core is unavailable because they were deemed close contact with someone who tested positive for COVID. Now, yes, he handled that interview great. I really hope that after he walked away, he somehow got called up all of his wide receivers who are normally dressed on game day and just curse them out from here to kingdom come. Because even despite that, he did, minus the 3 fumbles, look, 53 passes, not going to get it done. He did have 285 yards passing, but they didn't run the ball enough. They only ran the ball 15 times between Chubb and Hunt. 15.
By the way, I think I saw it was Warren Sharp on Twitter who tweeted out 53 passes when your wide receiving core is out of the game. Probably the reason why you lost.
Yeah. Look, even if you were going to pass the ball at a clip of even plus 30, or 30 or more, the tight ends should have been more involved in that passing game. Look, I know he targeted Austin Hooper 15 times, but there were just points where he was just forcing the ball to Austin Hooper, and he wasn't even open. Like, you've got to do better than that. And, for a young guy who still has his legs, probably should have ran a couple of times more than you did. He only took off 3 times for 6 yards, but I put that on the coaching staff. The coaching staff should have had a plan B in place the moment this news broke, whenever it did on Saturday, because, again, they knew about it on Saturday. They still had time to make some type of adjustment as far as what they were going to run. And for this being, the Jets are not stout against the run.
Well,
and for you to basically give up on it.
And I'm gonna say this too, and I'll bring Justin in on this. Yes, you can plan ahead for some things. I don't know if you can necessarily plan ahead that you're going to not have your entire wide receiving core for a game.
True.
But when you have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, how do you not have more plays in your playbook for both those guys on the field and do some crazy reverses? How can there not be more plays even trickeration type plays with those two running backs in mind. Like, how's that not in your playbook?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And honestly, like, it's tough because realistically, by the latter part of the week, the players aren't practicing anymore, right? Like, there's meetings on like Friday, Saturday, but that's it. Yeah, exactly. And like walkthroughs, like literally walkthroughs. Like, usually what happens, and I'll tell you this because I worked with the Seahawks for a lot of years as like in their host hotel. Like, you know, they check in like Saturday because the whole team stays in the hotel, so they don't ride the bus together, so there's no curfew or anything like that. And like they'll like sit in like literally meeting rooms with whiteboards and projectors. And then if they do a walkthrough, typically it's like they rented the ballroom for the night. They just leave it open, and like they're literally there in just shorts and t-shirts, literally walking through the motions. And so like when your entire game plan that you built Monday through Thursday just gets thrown out the window because an entire like department of your team doesn't get to go, that's a serious problem. And so I don't blame Baker at all for the game. I mean, you know, my one question for him is when he says he, you know, trusts everybody in this room, does he mean the people who are currently in the room or the people who are supposed to be in the room? Because those are two very different groups of people. You know, one is, you know, a group of people who just got off the street, and the other is like professional wide receivers. But yeah, you're right though. Like, it's on the coaching staff. Like, if that happened, like, I'm not an NFL coach, obviously. I'm just some dude on the internet. But like, when all of your wide receivers are gone and you got a couple of good running backs, yeah, man, put on the like old school leather helmets and just play some like 1940s football and some just like pound, grind. You can split Kareem
3 yards
out
in a cloud of dust.
Yeah, that's it, man. Like, if like, give me 3.3 yards a carry for 80 carries, man, and we'll see what happens.
I mean, some double tight ends, 3 running backs in the backfield.
Yeah, man. Like wing T, wishbone, give me that I formation. Shoot. Let's go old school.
I mean, the Denver Broncos had an entire quarterback room out the night before a game, and they took some kid off the street to play quarterback. I don't understand why the Browns struggled mightily with a game plan. Yes, it is your entire wide receiving core, but you still had 3/4 of your team. And honestly, the defense, nothing was wrong with you guys.
Yeah.
Speaking of nothing is wrong with you guys, Travis Kelce would like everyone to know that the Chiefs aren't unbeatable, even if it seems like they are.
Hey, what's up, Travis? Fans want you guys to go out and always show your high-powered offense and blow teams out. It seems like you guys sometimes play down to your competition. I just want to get your thoughts on that.
And this league is it can get very confusing to a lot of people. They think since we have the best quarterback and 2 great receivers and, a defensive line sack nation, they think that we should just go out there and just dominate every single game, every single play. And that's not reality. What's reality is that, these guys on these other teams and all these teams are coming in here knowing that they're going up against a good football team. So they get geared up, they get fired up, and their attention, their alertness is that much more locked in. And, it's just it's playing ball. It is what it is. You have to respect the guys across from you and know that you're going to get their best shot. And, I mean, sometimes you just have to find a way to win a football game, and that's what we did.
Yeah, there you go. Even the Kansas City Chiefs struggle, even though they have the best quarterback and 2 of the best wide receivers and a phenomenal defensive line. That was great stuff. Just had to play.
Oh, that whole thing. Just, oh, man. Oh, yeah. Oh, you know what? We're not invincible. I mean, I know we're the best and we're way better than everybody else. And we're amazing everywhere. But, it's hard for us, too. We put our pads on one leg at a time like everybody else. Sure, ours come with rings and are gold plated, but we're just like everybody. Shut up, Travis Kelce. You moron.
Look, to sum up what the reporter was pretty much getting at, look, their last blowout victory were back-to-back blowouts against the Broncos and the Jets, 43-16, 35-9. Since then, they beat the Panthers by 2, the Raiders by 4, the Buccaneers by 3, the Broncos by 6, the Dolphins by 6, the Saints by 5, and then yesterday the Falcons by 3. So, I mean, playing up and down to the competition, I'd say this team is bored and they need a break. So them locking up the bye is probably a good thing. You tend to see this with dominant teams in other sports like the NBA when, Golden State had all that talent. They were, they lose a game here or there, and it's like, oh my gosh, they lost a game. What's wrong with them? Or they didn't blow this team out like they should have. What's wrong with them? They're probably bored right now. They want the postseason to start. I mean, the end of the year, basically.
Human too. Mahomes ended up throwing 3 picks in the game?
3 interceptions. And you know what?
About time. You're not supposed to be able to do that, Patrick. You're supposed to do that more. What you did yesterday.
I put that on Raheem Morris and the coaching job he did with that Falcons defense yesterday. And if you go back and watch the game tape, a lot of those situations where it looks like, it's not even like 3rd and long. They're just situations where the Chiefs are just going to drop back and throw the ball. And the game plan was we're dropping 8. We're keeping 2 guys to watch Patrick, but we're dropping 8. And you could see it on 1st down and 3rd down. Anything that looked like pass, they dropped 8 in coverage. And 2 guys were looking at Patrick Mahomes because he didn't do much as far as with his legs either yesterday. But that was a great coaching job by Raheem Morris. They just flooded every single place. And they bracketed, Tyreek Hill and man-to-man coverage on almost everybody else and not let them get free. And, it kept them in the game until the very end, until that final touchdown pass that he threw. But it was a superb coaching job. Look, I know there's no moral victories, but Raheem Morris, if he doesn't get a coaching job next year, definitely deserves to be somebody's defensive coordinator. And I would love to put him in a green jersey in Philly.
Well, there you go.
I always thought Raheem Morris is a good, underrated coach in the NFL. I'm glad you called out those scores, though, because, honestly, Nick, our Chiefs super fan, I got him super salty when I pointed out how unimpressive the Chiefs have been for 2 months now. It's not just not blowing people out, but you're squeaking by back. Dude, Atlanta is terrible, man. They're awful, and you dropped 17 on them. And the team that they were for the first half of the year was a juggernaut. They're not anymore. And to win close games, obviously I think the better team is still winning, but if you're in close games, you're going to win some and you're going to lose some. That's not a great game plan for once you hit the playoffs and all of a sudden everybody's good. I saw this with the Seahawks for the last several years, right? They would always be in 1-score games and pretty much always win them. And then as soon as they hit the playoffs, they get curb stomped by the Packers or something, right? Very disheartening. On top of it, Patrick Mahomes is playing good, which is not what we're used to seeing out of him. Over the last, 6 games, he has 5 interceptions. He has 5 fumbles. For fans in our little chat group, because obviously we like to talk football a lot. Hello, we do a football podcast. We talk a lot to each other. And I've been basically ragging on Russell Wilson nonstop for the last half of the year. Patrick Mahomes has more interceptions and more fumbles over the last 5 games than Russell Wilson does. He's not playing great. And if he's not playing great, then their team isn't great because their defense sucks. And so this is a team where it's it hasn't quite gone over, but it's starting to wobble. It's getting more and more wobbly every week. And that's a really bad time to do it heading into the last week this season.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up the point of they're squeaking by these bad teams. They're not going to get so lucky if Mahomes is throwing 3 interceptions against the Titans or the Steelers or one of these other playoff teams. Every team in the playoffs is good. They're there because they've won a majority of their games. And as I pointed out in the Slack channel, there's going to be a team in the AFC with 10 wins at least 10 wins that isn't going to make the playoffs. And there's a possibility there could be a team with 11 wins that doesn't make the playoffs. It's a rough hoe in the AFC this year.
Yeah, and just like I mentioned a couple of weeks ago on one of our Thursday shows, going into the playoffs like you did last year, hot, and coming out cold in every single playoff game, including the Super Bowl, being down 10 points plus at some point, ain't going to work this year. They cannot go into trailing every single playoff game like they did last year by 10-plus points and come back for victory. The competition is a lot better this year as far as the playoff teams than it was last year.
I'll tell you what
teams are more well-rounded.
I'll tell you what else isn't going to work, and that is what Miami has done now 2 times, where Tua gets himself into some trouble, and then they bench him, and they bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Fitzpatrick ends up winning the game. I don't really necessarily want to talk about like Fitzpatrick coming in and saving the day for the Dolphins because he didn't actually save the day the first time. I think it was more of a learning experience for Tua in that particular regard. But they're not going to be able to switch quarterbacks like that during the playoffs. It won't work if they even make the playoffs. But really what they need to do is they need to check out what is going on with their coaching assistants and what they're putting in the water. Because, well, here's Ryan.
When Brian Flores approached you, first, what'd you do when you ran in the tunnel? Just what was your reaction to his message? And could you explain just the will of the entire team for you guys to be able to fight back and win this game?
The tunnel thing was weird because this is the first time in my 16-year career I've had to go to the bathroom so bad that I had to go during the game. And so I ran in there to take a pee, and then I came back out. And when I came back out, Flo said, hey, get ready, you're going in. So I took the obligatory 7 warm-up throws and went out there and tried to make something happen.
By the way, I apologize already because I'm confusing this bathroom break by Ryan Fitzpatrick with the bathroom break made by Lamar Jackson earlier this year. I thought it was Tua that also had a bathroom break. No, it was Lamar Jackson of the Baltimore Ravens. Sorry, my apologies. But still, Ryan Fitzpatrick for 16 years has never had to go to the bathroom on the sidelines. And in this particular case, he had to go to the bathroom. It's not?
Oh, no. That's not true. That's not true. I'm pretty sure there's some film somewhere of him having to relieve himself either in a towel or players holding up a towel around him. I can't remember if that was him or not, but yeah, he's gone to the bathroom before during the game. He was probably a backup and never really got in the game, but it didn't matter then. But I'm pretty sure he's done it.
Mm-hmm. I can hear people clicking that unsubscribe button to this podcast right now.
All I can tell you is you may have heard the dulcet tones of Mark Schlereth on one of these football games this past weekend, and he has a wonderful going to the bathroom on the sideline story. That is is the most epic going to the bathroom on the sideline story I think I've ever heard. Go ahead and search Mark Schlereth peeing his pants, and you should be able to find it. He told the story beautifully on Mike and Mike in the morning back in the day on ESPN. It was fantastic.
He and all linemen from the 80s just went in their pants.
It was great. Somebody get me a towel, quick!
Man, I have some stories from high school along those lines, but not me personally. People I played with. I am just so interested that we now understand that the secret to good quarterback play, like we learned from Fitzmagic and from Lamar, is you just got to relieve a little pressure.
All right.
Nice.
Jamal Adams. This is like the special sauce that I didn't realize all season long. I only discovered Jamal Adams post-game press conferences here in the last couple of weeks. But Jamal Adams, he brought it once again. I had to cut this down. I mean, there's even more awesomeness to his press conference. So go on YouTube and watch the whole thing. But here's a little bit of Jamal Adams in his post-game press conference for the Seattle Seahawks.
What is that you have next to you there?
Oh, that's that little cigar, man.
That's what I thought.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir. It's a celebration. They blasting that music, huh? Sorry, y'all. We little celebration.
It's all good. You guys deserve it. So the last time you played the Rams, it was a very different mood. You guys had lost, I believe it was 2 of the last 3. This time, since you played them last, playing some of your best football. Right. Was there something about today's game, though, knowing it was the Rams and the team had your number the last time out that made it extra special to win the division against them?
Yeah. That's a great question because, throughout the whole week, I'm going to tell you for myself, I had it on my mind, and I know this defense had it on our mind. For everybody out there, they got to start putting respect on this defense's name because this defense is playing lights out. And to me, we're the best defense in the league. And you can quote that. You can do what you want to do with it. Appreciate y'all. I'm going to enjoy my cigar. God bless you guys. I hope all of you guys have a wonderful day. because, we're champions. Keep it playing at all times. God bless y'all.
I'm going to guess that the stadium is a no smoking zone, but he lit up the cigar right there at the end of the press conference. That's what they're all laughing at. He just lit it up, took a big old puff off the cigar. It just so happens, James, we have a Seattle Seahawks superfan with us here.
We do, don't we?
We do. Justin, I seem to remember the Seahawks defense couldn't stop like my son's high school football team on defense. Now all of a sudden they're the best defense in the league. Let up a cigar, mic drop. What's the deal?
I mean, man, I wish they were half as cool as Jamal Adams makes them out to be. The truth is, as it often is, somewhere in the middle. The defense for the first most of the year was possibly the worst of all time. And I don't say that lightly, like statistically, like yards given up, things like passing yards, things like that, like worst in history. But yeah, a couple of things changed. Jamal Adams, who had been hurt early in the season, came back. And my God, that guy's an effing player. Holy crap. He saved a touchdown by chasing down the running back from behind, coming from the opposite side of the line, which again would have been an easy walking touchdown, turned into, second and short, and then they got stuffed.
Only 4 yards out, too. From the opposite side of the line, from behind the line, 4 yards away from the end zone, he stops a touchdown. It was a pretty impressive play.
Yeah, he missed a quarter of the season, and he owns all the all-time DB records for rushing the passer. His get off, his timing is amazing, and much like JJ Watt, you can tell there are players who play for a paycheck, and there's players who want to win, and this dude wants to win, so having that presence back on the field makes a big difference. In addition, honestly, I can't believe what a difference trading for Carlos Dunlap has made. If you get one good guy rushing the passer, then they also have to start, sending attention his way, and then other guys start showing up and they start making a difference. So, it's the defense was the worst in the league for the first 3 quarters of the year. They've been top 10-ish for the last 5 games or so. And, you got to have to adjust for competition a little bit because they haven't been playing, who's who of elite teams, but still, the turnaround has been remarkable. If Russell Wilson wasn't garbage right now, this team would be in great shape.
He's never received a single vote, Justin. Never.
Justin, and just to pick on you about the competition not being good, before the Rams, you all played the Eagles, Giants, Jets, and Washington. Not necessarily world beaters on offense there.
Yeah, but I mean, on the flip side, this defense gave up historical amounts of yardage to the Falcons and Patriots and Cowboys. So it's still a significant turnaround from where it started.
Justin, is this like the Colts defenses of old, the Peyton Manning Colts, where they were a terrible defense because Bob Sanders missed the entire year and then all of a sudden he's back for the playoffs? Is this a similar situation where this defense was terrible, Jamal Adams misses most of the year, he comes back, and now all of a sudden watch out?
I don't know. The thing about that, and you know this as well as anybody, is that was a very precisely constructed defense, right? The whole idea was that listen, Peyton Manning is going to give you points, so screw defending the run. You don't have to do that because you're going to have the lead. So you just get some great edge rushers and a great center fielder in the back, and you'll win. And obviously that worked pretty well when the center fielder played. This defense isn't quite constructed that way. They're still built first to stop the run, which they've actually done a good job all year. If Jamal Adams goes down because of Carlos Dunlap, they still have a pass rusher. They've also gotten Benson Mayowa back, who's fine. So, I think they could withstand that a little bit. Because, the whole defense is playing. KJ Wright is having one of the best years of his career. Bobby Wagner is the number 1 linebacker by PFF again. Shaquille Griffin continues to play great. The other corner who's been starting over Trey Flowers, who was terrible, I forget his name. We got him from the Niners, so they gave him up for free. He's playing great. So the whole defense is gelling, and I don't think you can necessarily peg a specific cog. I think it's if you lose both Carlos Dunlap and Jamal Adams, then yeah, I think we're back to watching. Shoot, if Dwayne Haskins still played, he would probably put up 500 yards.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to peel back the curtain. I've got a heart out here, so I'm going to have to skip some sound. So, unfortunately, you will not hear Mitch Trubisky thank his good friend C.J. Beathard for getting a win against the Cardinals and keeping the Chicago Bears playoff hopes alive. You won't hear Bruce Arians talk about the question by the reporter was, it didn't look like you were trying to force it to Mike Evans. And Bruce Arians was like, yeah, we knew about the record and I really want to get that for him. In other words, we were forcing it to Mike Evans quite a bit so he could get the record. You won't hear from Mike Vrabel, who was basically asked, you can't win a game unless you score 30 or more points. How confident do you feel moving forward? And Mike Vrabel says, after last night, I don't think you can be confident about anything with this particular team. But you will hear from Pittsburgh Steelers head coach and liar Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin lies because he says we're going to unleash hell here in December and has never unleashed hell in December. And even this past weekend, I don't think you could call that unleashing hell. But Mike Tomlin, well, he was asked about what is his plans because his team's pretty much locked into the 3 seed. He might be able to get the 2 seed, but will he rest players or won't he?
Mike, you're pretty much locked into the 3 seed, maybe the 2 seed. What goes into the decision next week of who you play and how long you play? And is there something to just keeping the momentum going?
We'll ponder those possibilities in the morning. Tonight, we're going to wear our hats and T-shirts.
We're just going to party in our hats and T-shirts. Leave us alone. Let us enjoy this new piece of clothing that we were given.
Yeah, I mean, that's not lying. That's pretty much truth. I mean, they got all week to figure it out. And, they probably will rest players because, again, they can't finish any higher than 3 right now because they don't own a tiebreaker against Buffalo. So unless Buffalo trips up these last 2 weeks, including tonight, but I don't even think seeding makes a difference right now. I mean, look, the Chiefs already got the bye. If you won your division, I can't see you really playing anybody. Trying to avoid a matchup is not going to help. You're going to play who you play in the playoffs in the first round. So if you don't have the bye, the only thing you can do is win your division if it's still available, which 2 of them are, surprisingly. But, yeah.
And as I just mentioned earlier, every single team in the AFC playoffs will have 10 wins or more. At least 10 wins or more. Could have a minimum of 11 wins or more, which will be a phenomenal playoff situation.
Yeah, I don't know that seeding matters that much because, they're all good. There's nobody that you're trying to avoid or trying to, line up. There's not an NFC East over there that you can just, hope that you get stuck with them. It's kind of a wash.
Well, and the question that I was seeing here, how do I play 4D chess if I'm the Buffalo Bills? Let's assume I'm the Bills and I go out and I win against the Patriots on Monday Night Football, and now I've got the Dolphins, and the Dolphins win, they're in. If they lose, there's a chance that the Ravens are going to get in. Do I lose on purpose to the Dolphins so that the Steelers get the Ravens, but now I'm going to get the Chiefs earlier because I'm going to be the 3 seed, which means I'll be there. I'll be the Chiefs' first game, assuming I win my first round. It gets too crazy at that point. At that point, it's just sort of no, can't play that game. Let me just go out, play how I need to play. If I end up getting the 2 seed and I play the Dolphins, then great. But I don't know. We'll see.
And you can't look forward. Yeah, you can't look forward past the wild card round and say, all right, I want to get the 2 seed so that, my second playoff game is still at home. Nah, you can't do guessing like that. You can't assume like Justin said, the AFC is loaded. We mentioned 8 teams are going to have 11 wins or something like that right now in the AFC, potentially. So, I mean, you got to do whatever your game plan tells you to do. If it means go out there and resting players and seeding be damned, then fine. If you're trying to play for seeding in the hope that you win your wild card weekend game, then go out there and win it. But some teams are just stuck where they are right now.
Right. You are going to hear from this head coach, Mike McCarthy, who I believe is the Dallas Cowboys head coach, but it sounds like he's a head coach of another team.
I can't say enough about the football team, the whole operation of it, just the way everybody's battled, and the challenges that we've had, and particularly to see things come full circle these past 3 weeks. So it's an excellent team win, and just like the past two games. And now we have a chance next week. So we still have to take care of our own opportunity and hope for some help. But the fact of the matter is we're playing really good team football right now.
So he brought it back at the end to Dallas's chances, but he starts with.
I can't say enough about the football team.
That's not your team. The football team is in Washington. We know this. We've been over this all season long. They are the Washington football team. You can't refer to yourself as the football team anymore, Mike. By the way, I'm also proud that it took 16 weeks for me to finally get a piece of audio from a coach referring to his team as the football team so that I could do that joke.
Oh man, that is such a slow burn dad joke. That hats off to you, Pod.
Dad joke Thursday? Are we bringing it back? Dad joke Thursday? Anyone?
No.
It's still our most listened to episode. Just saying.
No.
Just saying.
Don't.
Hey man, 8 listens still count.
We will finish with the actual head coach of the football team, Ron Rivera.
Ron, what was your message to the team after this game?
Well, we still control our destiny. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. And again, we have one more game to play. It's a very important game. We'd like to focus on that game. And again, what's important and not what's interesting as we go forward.
Yeah, what's important and not interesting is that Dwayne Haskins, no, not you. You are no longer part of the football team.
Oh, man.
Who's like the number 15 overall pick, too?
I could have grabbed the question. I should have grabbed this question from the press conference because he was asked about Dwayne Haskins and why he started and then got benched. And Rivera said he thought Haskins had shown enough the previous week and earned the opportunity to start this week's game, even though he didn't finish this week's game and now isn't even finishing his season with Washington. I do wonder if this is Ron Rivera playing a little game of 4D chess and sort of giving Dwayne Haskins the wake-up call. How many teams out there are clamoring to get Dwayne Haskins in their quarterback room?
First-round quarterbacks always get a second chance, even if it's just holding the clipboard for the remainder of the careers. He was drafted in the first round. Someone's going to pick him up in the offseason. No one's going to roster him for next week, obviously, but definitely if he does what he's supposed to do, says he's going to be a better man going forward. If he actually puts in the effort, makes strides, and actually shows that, someone's going to give him a chance this offseason. He'll be someone's backup. But yeah, first-round quarterbacks always get a second chance. If he doesn't, I'm going to go to the obvious reasons why. But look, I said all season that Rivera and the offensive staff of the Washington football team have done a disservice to this kid, and they didn't want him when he got there. They did everything they could to sabotage him. I don't understand how you – look, I understand no one had an offseason in any traditional way, shape, or form. No mini camps, no OTAs, nothing, no preseason. I get that. No one had any of that. But you can't bring in a new offensive system with a second-year quarterback on his second system in as many years and expect him to play lights out from the word go. There are no reps to be had. The first month of the season is basically your preseason. It just was what it was after September. Like, it wasn't going to get better. And, yeah, Alex Smith came in and did some nice things or whatever. But, I mean, still, it's the NFC East. I don't expect any of these teams outside of winning the division to win a playoff game. But if Smith's not ready to go next week because he was a last-minute scratch this week, what do you do then? I mean, the only good thing is that you're playing Philadelphia, who pretty much likes giving games away.
Taylor Heineke, who apparently did enough good things at the end of this week's game to earn the opportunity next week.
Yeah. The only thing I'll say about that is this. Haskins is just Josh Rosen, except with breaking COVID protocols and strippers.
Pretty much.
I mean,
I think he's much better than Rosen, though. He's definitely much better than Rosen.
Oh boy. You should
I don't know.
You should watch him play sometime.
There's a lot of tape on Dwayne Haskins at this point that doesn't seem to show good football play.
Look, there was flashes last year under that offensive system.
No, the flashes were the strippers.
That was a well done.
Look,
that was well done.
Again, I feel like this offensive staff sabotaged him and put him in impossible situations. I don't think this staff. Look, the staff was hired, and I need the guy that writes the checks for Washington to actually hire a coach who wants to coach the players that his front office brings in, because this is the third coaching regime that did not like the quarterback. You know, when Snyder went out and pretty much had the front office draft Robert Griffin III, what's his name? Former Broncos head coach who was coaching Washington at the time. Shanahan. Shanahan didn't want Griffin, and then he brings in Jay Gruden. Gruden didn't want Griffin. Now you go out and draft Dwayne Haskins, and, you know, last year's coach was cool with Haskins, but you had to fire him because of the abysmal entire season, which is probably better than this season statistically. And now you bring in Ron Rivera, who doesn't want Dwayne Haskins. You need to find a coach going forward who wants the talent that you want. You can't keep hiring coaches who don't want your quarterback. That's not how things work in the NFL.
Well, now they have Ron Rivera there, who's pretty well established as sort of the point of culture change for the Washington football team. And I think he'll go forward with a quarterback that he wants. I'm guessing Alex Smith will give him one more year. Oh God. I pray for all the Washington football fans. If Cam Newton is your quarterback.
But James hit the nail on the head, though. The biggest problem in Washington is the guy writing the checks. If that doesn't change, this is never going to change.
Yeah, that's also true. But Washington is most likely your representative from the NFC least. And as James predicted, the first team to 7 makes it. Except Dallas could technically be the first team to make it to 7 and still miss out because Washington is playing Sunday night, and Dallas, I believe the Dallas game is 1:00, might be 4:00. I don't know. But I will know on Wednesday. That's right. The Thursday previews will be one day earlier. Once again this week, we'll have them ready for you late Wednesday afternoon. And we'll give you all of our picks, all of our predictions. There'll be a new format. Teams and games that have literally no impact on the playoff outcome, whether that's seeding or what have you. Those games will be put to the end of the show, and we'll actually have more of the same type of conversation we had this past week about the future for those particular teams. And unfortunately, that is going to feature 2 out of the 3 superfans on this particular podcast team. And I happen to be one of the 2. Oh, wonderful. It's a different era for me. Not used to this.
Don't ask me, man. I'm just trying to enjoy the new t-shirts and hats.
No new t-shirts and hats for me this year. Then no playoff beard either. That's the worst part. I have to actually shave through January.
Queen Pot May would be proud.
No, she's very excited about the no beard January about to happen. That's terrible. Anyway, thank you, James. Thank you, Justin, for jumping in and having some fun with us here on the Soundoff edition of the Next Fan Up podcast. nextfanup@gmail.com if you want to email us and get your emails in about your team, especially if your team is out of the playoff picture. We'd love to hear from you. nextfanup@gmail.com or tweet us at NFU Podcast or facebook.com/NFU Podcast. Any of those places work to get in touch with us. For James, for Justin, I'm Pod. Here's Kofi Annan. There you have it.
Dear friends and colleagues, saying goodbye is never easy. I believe we can all feel proud of what we have done together. And through it all, you have maintained your professionalism and commitment and remained true to the spirit of the Charter. That principle.
We go out, we hit people in the mouth.